For those of you who remember Cloverfield, the 2008 found footage film starring Janice from Mean Girls and Erlich Bachman,
You just brought piss to a shit fight, you little...
a sequel's coming out in 2 months. March 11th, to be exact. And some of you might be thinking, how the fuck is that even possible? It's 2016! How'd they hide this from us? And to that I say, Lemmy, David Bowie, and Alan Rickman all died from cancer that no one knew they had till their deaths. I know those wounds are still fresh, so drink some rubbing alcohol to numb the pain, and let's take a look at 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Children behave, that's what they say when we're together, and watch how you play. They don't understand, and so we're running just as fast as we can.
As I previously addressed, a lot of you are probably wondering how this was kept a secret. Considering that it stars John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, it was co-written by Damien Chazelle, and it's produced by the current nerd equivalent to Julius Caesar, J.J. Abrams, this should have been impossible to keep under wraps, right? These people are, at worst, kind of well known, and in the case of J.J. Abrams, they just directed the biggest movie of the year. But nah, it's actually pretty easy to keep this kind of stuff secret, apparently. All you have to do is pretend that the movie is called something lame, like The Cellar or Valencia, and then release minimal information about it. People completely ignored it because who gives a shit about a movie called The Cellar? That title screams 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, right? People ignored it so much that the film's plot synopsis was released in September of 2014 and no one blinked, because that sounds absolutely nothing like a Cloverfield sequel, or spin-off, or whatever this is. Apparently there's questions about that, I don't know. Filming took place between October and December of 2014 and was somewhat actively posted about during that time. And none of this shit was hidden from us at all, but then coverage dropped off for quite a while, until January 15th, 2016, when the trailer abruptly dropped on YouTube, much like Clover on New York. Collider actually had a slight lead on this, as the trailer was apparently attached to the world premiere of Michael Bay's new movie, like 13 Hours, There's Something About Benghazi. It's got that guy from Something Borrowed in it, so that's pretty cool. This was the only article talking about the movie's true nature or mentioning its title prior to the trailer, which came out like 3 hours later or something. It was a pretty tiny gap. And then the trailer received like 2 million views on YouTube within the day, and as of this recording has like 4.8 million views. It's probably gonna go up by the time I post this video. And it gathered all of this attention despite being related to a movie that came out 8 years ago. And it's not like Cloverfield's remembered as some classic, and it's not like it was insanely successful at the time. It was definitely more successful than expected, but hardly successful enough to really warrant a sequel coming out this much later and having anyone give a shit about it, and yet here we are. But with that said, the biggest thing that made me want to talk about this is the fact that the marketing team for this movie did the best thing they possibly could have to give it any form of success. They surprised the shit out of everyone. Anyone who tells you they expected Valencia / The Cellar to really be a Cloverfield movie just needs to stroke their brain dick's ego. This shit came out of nowhere with no warning. I mean, hell, it isn't even found footage this time around. They could have released this exact same trailer with Valencia as the title at the end, and we still wouldn't know that it was related to Cloverfield, which is actually where a Reddit user, KeyLife23, comes in and claims that this was all an attempt to save a shitty movie by slapping Cloverfield on it so it makes some money. But honestly, that's kind of a weird property to choose, and there's absolutely no validity to this claim because there's no sources. So the best thing about this approach is that the movie could be god fucking awful, and people are still gonna see it because they're intrigued. Since most people haven't been following the production of Valencia, myself included thanks to that lack of updates I mentioned, it feels like 10 Cloverfield Lane was filmed entirely in secret and is getting the ninja release to end all ninja releases. Obviously that isn't quite the case, but the sheer intrigue of seeing a film that's released 2 months after its announcement will plant a lot of asses in seats, including plenty of people that skipped the original Cloverfield. So other than filling you in on how all of us got played, what's my point? It's pretty simple. Viral marketing, when done right, fucking works. While the original Cloverfield is arguably the most recent successful use of this, the practice was first hugely successful in 1999 with the Blair Witch Project, which also planted the seeds for the popularity of the found footage genre that Cloverfield falls under. It's all connected. Back when Blair Witch was first announced, it was falsely portrayed as being actual found footage. The actors in the film had never starred in anything, or at least anything notable, before Blair Witch. The dialogue was almost entirely improvised, there was little to no crew throughout the majority of filming, etc., etc. There's a whole bunch of information about this that I'd highly recommend you look into. It's a really interesting production. And it was so convincingly portrayed as legitimate through its marketing that the morbid curiosity of the public alone caused it to gross nearly $250 million. It was made for a little over $20,000. This is the kind of film that normally would have been shown at a few film festivals and then left to collect dust, but instead, it's one of the most profitable films ever made, along with being a staple of the Halloween season. The only real issue with viral marketing is that you have to nail it. If you don't get it precisely on the point where people are intrigued but kind of left in the dark, you get a movie that people just don't care to see. While Cloverfield and Blair Witch, alongside others I didn't delve into, such as District 9, Prometheus, and Paranormal Activity, have all become huge successes with considerable aid from their viral marketing, other films have failed miserably. My personal favorite example of this is Wanted. In an attempt to boost word about the movie through a viral video, director Timer McMumbatun created a short, staged video disguised as security camera footage of an office worker destroying his supplies and assaulting his coworkers. To aid authenticity, they even had one of the extras filmed from a second angle on her phone with audio included. This video racked up about 4 million views in a pretty small amount of time, so it was certainly making the rounds on the internet. The only problem was the video was so convincingly real that people had absolutely no idea that it was promoting anything, let alone Wanted. There was no website, no date, nothing. It was just an interesting video of a guy losing his shit. People found it funny and they watched it, but they didn't really think about it beyond that. Unsurprisingly, studios haven't really tried doing that same method since. It reminds me a lot of that video where the pig saves a goat from drowning or whatever, that ended up being staged by fucking Nathan Fielder for some random petting zoo. Although I'd argue that the Wanted clip was even less effective because some people saw the Nathan For You episode about it and gave that petting zoo a little bit of promotion. They actually did it worse. So you get the idea. Viral marketing is frequently done pretty well, but when it isn't, it's completely pointless and no one cares. See ya.